Raylan's eyes opened slowly, for a few seconds. He didn't understand what was happening. There was weight on his chest, something warm, soft, and shaking slightly. He blinked twice, then fully woke up and froze. A woman, no, an alien woman, was on top of him. Her knees rested on both sides of his waist, and her hands were pressed flat against his chest. She had glowing lavender skin, long silver hair, and eyes that looked like stars in the night sky. She wasn't angry, but terrified. Her body trembled. Her breath came out in short, panicked gasps. "Don't move," she whispered quickly. "Please just don't move." Raylan's heart pounded. He remembered her. She was his new housekeeper. Hired yesterday through the station services, her name was Valari. She had said very little during their first meeting, only bowed slightly and said she would serve him well. But now she was here, straddling him, holding him down, not in threat, but in fear, and he could hear it too. The metallic footsteps outside his quarters. Clang, clang. Something was walking around the compound. Something heavy, something not human. What is that? Raylan whispered. Valari's ears twitched slightly, her head turning as if tracking every sound. "Hunter drone," she said. "Unauthorized presence in perimeter. Scanning for life forms." Raylan's breath caught in his throat. Why would a hunter drone be out here? This planet was considered safe. No pirates, no enemies. Just an abandoned research station. And him. He was here for basic maintenance. Power grid tuning. Nothing dangerous. Why is it here? He asked softly. Valari looked at him with eyes full of guilt and hesitation. "It came for you," she said. "Because of what you touched yesterday." He remembered it now. The old generator core in the basement. He had fixed it. Just a minor repair, some old war tech, but it had glowed for a second longer than expected. Maybe he had triggered something. Outside, the footsteps stopped. Silence. Valari's body tensed like a statue. Then a loud metal bang echoed from the east wall. Raylan flinched, but Valari didn't move. She stayed over him like a shield, even when the room vibrated slightly, even when dust fell from the ceiling. Then after 5 long minutes, the noise faded. The drone left. The danger, for now, was gone. Valari slowly relaxed, her shoulders dropping. She looked down at him and quickly climbed off, stepping back, embarrassed. "I apologize," she said. "I had to cover you. It reads heat signatures. Your body temperature was exposed." Raylan sat up, still confused. "You saved me," he said. "Why?" Valari looked away. Her hands trembled as she picked up a strange silver device from the corner and placed it in her belt. "I wasn't sent here to clean," she said. "My mission was to monitor you, neutralize threats, and, if needed, silence the source." Raylan stared at her, stunned. "You were going to kill me?" he asked. "I was," she answered. "But you didn't treat me like a tool. You offered me food." He remembered when she had arrived. He had shared his dinner with her. It had been a simple gesture. A plate of synth stew and tea. She had looked surprised, even shy, and now she had just risked herself to protect him. "I don't understand," he said. "Why all this?" "I'm just an engineer." Valari walked to the window, looked at the fading light over the crater hills. "No," she said. "You're not just an engineer. You fixed something they wanted broken." Raylan felt the weight of her words. The generator wasn't just a power source. It was a signal device, something buried from the old wars. He had turned it back on without realizing it. And now someone or something was hunting him. Valari turned back, her eyes softer now. "I failed my mission," she whispered. "I was supposed to end you, but now I want to protect you." Raylan didn't know what to say. His life had just flipped upside down. He stared at her, not as a housekeeper, not as an alien, but as someone who had made a choice. A dangerous, personal choice. And that choice might be the only reason he was still breathing. Outside, the sky turned red-orange, signaling the arrival of storm winds. But inside, everything had already changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk. That night, Raylan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Valari's face above him, not with anger or fear, but something else. Like she was fighting a war inside herself. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at the cup of cold tea in his hands. Across the room, Valari was kneeling on the floor, fixing the base of the door. Her movements were quiet, too smooth like a machine. Every now and then, she placed small black cubes in corners. Security markers. She finally said without looking at him, "They'll tell me if anything enters within 50 meters. You're not really a housekeeper, are you?" Rylan asked. Valari didn't answer. Instead, she moved to the next corner and continued working. Her silver hair flowed behind her like water. Rylan stood up and walked over. "Why are you still here?" he asked. "You said your mission was to eliminate threats. What changed?" Valari stopped, sat back on her knees, and finally looked up. "You were kind to me," she said softly. "No one's ever kind to me when they know what I am." "And what exactly are you?" Rylan asked. She touched the base of her neck, then pressed something. Her left eye blinked, and for a moment, a grid of lights shimmered beneath her skin. "Protector class bioform, model VX221, she said, half synthetic, half organic. Designed for infiltration, observation, and removal." Rylan stepped back, confused. "So you're a weapon?" "I was," Valari replied. "Now I am." "Uncertain." He shook his head, trying to understand. "You were sent here to kill me, but you saved me instead." Valari stood slowly. "I was activated after you powered up the war core beneath this building," she said. "I watched you fix it and waited for the command to neutralize. But then you handed me tea, you smiled, you called me Valari, not unit." Rylan swallowed. That old generator, it was something bigger. And this woman, this bioform, was never meant to stay long. "What's in that core?" he asked. Valari turned away, walking toward the hallway. "I can't say," she replied. "But others will come in soon. Others like you." "No," she said. "Worse." She opened her small bag and took out something wrapped in black cloth. Inside was a strange rifle, compact but deadly looking. Alongside it were knives, signal scramblers, and what looked like memory disks. Rylan stared in silence. His so-called housekeeper was more prepared for war than any soldier he'd met. Valari began setting up defenses without another word. Barriers on windows, locks on doors, silent alarms. She moved fast like someone who had done this many times before. And Rylan noticed the scars on her back, old burns. Small metal plugs at the base of her spine. She had seen things, survived things. Things no maid should have gone through. Rylan leaned on the wall, watching her work. "I didn't ask for any of this," he said. "I came here to fix lights and fans, not fight a war." Valari paused and looked at him again. "No one asks for war," she said. "But sometimes war finds you." She handed him a device, small and cold. "If I fall, press this," she said. "It will erase my memory and trigger the emergency beacon." Rylan didn't take it. He looked her in the eye and said, "You think I'd let you die just like that?" Valari blinked. "You should," she said. "I am replaceable." He reached forward and closed her hand gently. "Not to me." For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she stepped back, her voice quieter. "There's something in the basement you must see." "What is it?" he asked. "Proof," she replied. "Proof that what you reactivated was not meant to exist anymore." She turned, walked to the back hatch and opened it. Cold air rushed upward from the underground levels. The scent of dust and old metal filled the room. Rylan hesitated, then followed. He didn't know what waited below. He didn't know what this woman really was. But somehow, he trusted her more than anyone else, even if she had once been his enemy, because the way she had protected him, the way she chose not to follow her kill order, that meant something, something real. The basement door groaned open like it hadn't been touched in years. A long metal staircase led downward into darkness. The air felt thick, heavy, filled with old energy. Rylan stepped carefully, his boots echoing against the steel with each step. Valari walked behind him, her footsteps silent like a shadow. She carried a glowing orb in her palm, casting pale blue light across the cold walls. "This place wasn't listed in the base maps," Raylan said softly. "That's because it was hidden," Valari replied. "And it was meant to stay hidden forever." They reached the bottom, where an old hallway stretched out in front of them. The floor was covered in dust, but not undisturbed. Footprints, fresh ones, moved through the dust, leading to the far end. Ryland shivered. "Someone's been down here," he whispered. Valari nodded. "Possibly one of the scouts, or worse, the cleaner unit that failed to return." They stopped at a thick metal door with faded warning signs. Raylan reached for the panel, but Valari stopped him. "Let me," she said, and placed her hand against the scanner. Her eyes flickered for a moment as data passed between her and the lock. With a hiss, the door slid open, revealing a large chamber, and in the middle of it was the thing he had accidentally activated. A circular power core the size of a shuttle, pulsing with slow blue light, cables wrapped around it like vines. And strange alien writing glowed along its base. Raylan stepped inside, his mouth slightly open. "This doesn't look like human tech," he said. "It's not," Valari answered. "It's precursor war tech, designed to power ancient war machines left buried in the planet's crust." He walked closer to it, drawn by curiosity. "But I only fixed a power conduit," he said. "I didn't mean to turn on a doomsday device." "You didn't turn it on," Valari said. "You woke it up." She moved beside him and pointed to the writing. "These symbols are warnings. It says, contain the eye, or the skies will bleed." Rylan laughed nervously. "That's comforting." Valari looked at him with serious eyes. "Do you understand now?" She said, "This thing sends out a signal, not just energy, but a call. A pattern the old machines still respond to. If even one of them wakes up, the entire planet is in danger." He looked around the room, the walls lined with strange machinery and long-dead lights, and then his eyes landed on something else. A skeleton, half mechanical, half alien, slumped in the corner. Its chest was torn open, and its face was frozen in terror. "What happened to it?" he asked. Valari walked over slowly. "That was the last engineer who tried to access the data core," she said. "He didn't have protection." Rylan stepped back, a chill running through him. "But I'm still alive." "You're lucky," Valari said. "Or maybe it chose you." The idea made Rylan uneasy. "This isn't just a power source," he said. Valari nodded. "It's a lock," she whispered, "and you just turned the key." Suddenly, the orb in Valari's hand flickered red. "Intruder signal detected," she said sharply. "Someone else just entered the compound." "Who?" "I don't know," she said, "but they're not using doors." Raylan rushed up the stairs with Valari close behind. His mind raced, trying to understand what he had walked into. This wasn't a simple station anymore. He was now guarding something the galaxy had tried to forget. Back upstairs, the lights were flickering. The wind outside howled like something alive, and the shadows in the corners felt deeper, heavier. Valari grabbed her rifle from behind the kitchen counter. "Stay behind me," she said. "Whatever is coming. It already knows your name." Rylan backed up, hands trembling slightly. He looked at her, this being that once had orders to kill him and now risked everything for him. He couldn't understand why. But deep down, he felt it too. They weren't just protecting the core anymore. They were protecting each other. Then the outer sensor beeped. Movement fast, heading straight for them. Raylan's heart pounded. Valari raised her weapon, eyes locked on the door, and the quiet voice inside Raylan's mind whispered a warning. This was only the beginning. It started with a knock. Not loud, not urgent, just soft and polite, like a neighbor asking to borrow sugar. But no one ever visited Ryland's station, especially not at night. Valari stood perfectly still near the window, her weapon raised but hidden behind the curtain. Raylan looked at her with a quiet nod, then walked toward the front door. The knocking came again, 3 gentle taps. Then silence. He checked the camera panel. A man stood outside, tall, wearing a faded utility uniform. He smiled at the camera, lifted his hand and waved. "Good evening," the stranger said through the cum. "I'm from planetary maintenance." "Just checking the power logs," Valari hissed through her teeth. "That's a lie," she said. "He's not wearing thermal gear, no ID chip is broadcasting, and no maintenance teams are scheduled for this quadrant. Should we ignore him?" Rylan whispered. "No," Valari said. "Open the door, just a little," Rylan did as told. Cracking the door open with the security lock still latched, the stranger smiled wider. His face was handsome, too perfect, his uniform too clean. "Mind if I come in?" he asked. "I've got a few questions about your generator." "Funny," Rylan said. "No one's asked about it in 6 months. And now 2 visitors in 2 days. The man's smile faded slightly. "Please," he said, his voice lower now. "Step aside." Valari appeared from the shadows without warning. Her weapon pointed at the man's head. "Step back," she commanded. The man froze, eyes narrowing as he spotted her. "VX series," he said coldly. "Didn't know they still made your kind." "Because they don't," Valari replied. "I made myself." The man didn't argue. He simply smiled again, then moved. He lunged forward faster than human reflexes should allow. The door burst open as he kicked it from the hinges. Valari fired 3 shots. 1 grazed his arm, another hit his shoulder, and the third missed. Still, he kept moving. Rylan ducked behind the counter, grabbing the small plasma knife Valari had given him earlier. The intruder leapt over the couch, tackled Valari to the ground. Her elbow cracked into his jaw, and the floor shook beneath them. "Who sent you?" she yelled. "The Splice Guild," he growled. "And I came to silence your mistake." They rolled across the floor, the intruder trying to inject her with something. Valari kicked him off with both legs, sending him flying into the kitchen table. Rylan charged in with the plasma knife. The man stood and caught his wrist mid-air. "You?" He laughed. "You're the idiot who fixed the eye," Rylan struggled, his hand shaking. "I didn't mean to," he said. "But you did," the intruder snarled. "And now they're listening." Valari screamed and tackled him again, this time stabbing something into his chest, a short burst of ice. Electricity crackled, and the man twitched violently before collapsing to the ground. Unconscious, silence returned. Only the hum of the lights and Valari's heavy breathing remained. She stood over the stranger's body, her eyes glowing slightly in the dim light. Rylan wiped sweat from his forehead and leaned against the wall. "Who was he?" he asked. "A cleaner," Valari said. "Sent to erase you and wipe all evidence." She pulled out a scanner and waved it over the man's body. "He's enhanced, at least 40% synthetic, and his blood is laced with toxin failsafes. If we hadn't stopped him quickly, he would have detonated." Rylan sat down slowly. He had almost died again, all because he'd done his job too well. Valari took a breath and looked at him. "They'll keep coming," she said. "This was only the first wave. I don't want to die fixing lights," he said, forcing a tired smile. "Then stop thinking like a repairman," Valari said, "and start thinking like someone who holds a secret worth killing for." She picked up the intruder's device bag and handed it to Rylan. "Inside is a memory crystal," she said. "It contains data about the Splice Guild's black projects. And guess what?" she added. "Your name is in there." Rylan stared at the crystal. What had he gotten himself into? Valari gently touched his shoulder. "You didn't choose this," she said softly. "But now that it's found you, the galaxy will try to take it back. Stay strong." He looked at her. Her glowing eyes weren't cold anymore. They looked protective, maybe even caring. Outside, the sky turned black as storm clouds gathered above. Lightning cracked in the distance, and the old compound felt more like a battlefield than a home. But Rylan wasn't running, not anymore. The rain fell sideways, winds screamed against the walls like wild beasts. Inside the compound, the air was still but heavy. Valari sat cross-legged on the floor, wires trailing from her wrist into the core interface console. Rylan watched. her silently. The storm outside reflected in his tired eyes. "You're sure it's broadcasting again?" he asked. "Yes," she replied without looking up. "But not just locally," she added. "It's reaching deep space relay bands, old war-era frequencies." Ryland scratched his head, pacing. "I shut the core down this morning. You paused it," Valari corrected. "But whatever you reactivated, it wants to be heard." Suddenly, the console lights blinked. Valari's eyes flashed as a data stream passed through her system. Her voice dropped. "They heard it," she whispered. "The machines that sleep beneath this world. They're stirring." Raylan's stomach turned. "Can we reverse the signal?" Valari shook her head. "It's like trying to stop a song once it's already echoed through the mountains. The galaxy already heard the first note." She unplugged the wires and stood up. Her expression was different, tighter, more alert. "The question now is, who else heard it?" Ryland moved to the main screen, where a rotating star map showed signals. Several red dots blinked in the dark space around their planet. He zoomed in, then frowned. "Are those ships?" Valari nodded. "Recon class. Unknown origin," she said. "They've changed direction, heading this way." He turned to her, serious now. "So we leave?" "No," she said. "We dig in. We make it costly for anyone who comes." Ryland stepped back. "I'm not a soldier." "Valari, I wasn't always one either," she said. "But survival turns anyone into a fighter." Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a glowing blue shard. "This is your backup," she said. "The data from the core is copied here. If I fall, you take this and run to the signal array uplink in the mountain zone. You send the message to Earth High Command even if it kills you." Ryland took the shard, holding it like it weighed 100 kilos. "And if they don't believe me, show them this," she said, tapping the strange mark on her collarbone. The skin shifted, revealing a glowing symbol, ancient, curved, pulsing. "The mark of the precursor Forge Keepers," she explained. "No one dares ignore it." A beeping sound interrupted them. Valari turned to the alert console, her face darkened. "One of the old defense satellites just powered up," she said. "But it wasn't us." Ryland rushed to the screen. The satellite was in low orbit, and it was targeting them. "Who's controlling it?" he asked. Valari's voice dropped cold. "Whoever owns the Splice Guild now." Suddenly, the floor trembled slightly. A deep hum started beneath their feet. Rayland's eyes widened. "Is the core reacting to the satellite?" "It's responding," Valari confirmed. "Like they're talking." And then the walls shook. Something big was landing outside. Rayland grabbed a toolkit. Instinct more than logic, Valari armed her weapon, pulling back the energy coil. With one smooth motion, she moved toward the front entrance, her body low, her senses sharp. "We're not ready," Ryland said. "We'll never be," she replied. "But we can still make them bleed." She reached the door and paused. "If anything happens to me," she said softly, "don't wait, just run." "No," Ryland said firmly. "We run together or not at all." Valari blinked slowly, then nodded. "Then stay close." The lights flickered as they opened the outer doors. Wind roared in like a beast let loose, but through the storm, they saw a dark figure standing still in the mud. Its eyes glowed yellow, its armor black and marked with the same symbol as the satellite. It wasn't human, and it wasn't alone. More shapes stepped out from the shadows. Tall, armored, cold machines in humanoid form. Ryland whispered, "They're here for the core." Valari raised her weapon. "And they'll get it over my broken body," thunder rolled as the first machine stepped forward. The battle hadn't begun yet, but the signal had already declared war. The sky caught fire. That's what it looked like to Ryland. A burning streak split the clouds above the compound. Glowing red metal screamed down from orbit like a falling god. Valari yanked him backward just in time. The impact rocked the earth, blasting heat and dust through every window. Half the wall cracked from the force. Alarms wailed, lights blinked red, and the floor shook under their boots. Rayland coughed and stumbled as the dust settled. "What was that?" he gasped. Orbital kinetic lance, Valari said. They're not trying to capture anymore. They want us gone. The machines were already advancing through the smoke. Their footsteps crunched over broken glass and burning dirt. Valari moved fast, dragging Rylan behind cover while loading her last high-density cell. Power's unstable, she said. Shields are down. If they hit the core again, it'll breach. She tapped the side of her head and winced. Her systems were glitching. Flickering blue veins pulsed along her skin, her body failing under pressure. Rylan noticed and stepped closer. You're burning yourself out, he said. Valari didn't answer. Instead, she pushed him back and stood between him and the enemy. This is what I was made for, she whispered. But this time, I choose why. The machines entered the outer hallway, silent and terrifying. Each one was built for war-black armor, glowing circuits, bladed arms. They raised their weapons without emotion. Valari charged, her body glowed with inner light. As she drew a plasma arc, the first swing shattered the lead machine's chest. The second cut down another. But each hit drained her faster. Rylan worked quickly, sprinting to the backup terminal near the power core. He had one plan, one insane, risky plan. If he rerouted energy from the signal amplifier into the core's reactor, he could force a pulse. Not just a shutoff, but a massive feedback blast to knock everything offline. He typed fast, fingers shaking, sparks raining down from the ceiling. The system warned him. Reactor overload 20 seconds to containment loss. He ignored it. Kept typing. Behind him, Valari screamed as a blade pierced her shoulder. She tore through it, sparks and blood flying. But she was slowing, her vision warping. Her balance unstable. Rylan shouted, 10 seconds! She fell to one knee, holding her weapon with her last strength. The machines paused, calculating, then rushed her. Rylan slammed the final command, now. He yelled, diving behind the shield barrier. The core pulsed once, then roared. A shockwave burst out, invisible but devastating. Every screen went dark. Every machine froze mid-strike. Valari was thrown back against the wall. Unconscious, smoke rose from every wire, and the wind outside suddenly went quiet. Only the hum of emergency power remained. Rylan crawled to Valari, blood on his forehead. Valari, he whispered, shaking her. No response. He checked her pulse faint. But there, pieces of her synthetic skin were peeling, metal showing underneath. She looked fragile now, not like a weapon, but like a person who gave everything. He grabbed the toolkit and connected her to the emergency port on the wall. Don't die, he muttered, his voice breaking. Not after everything. She stirred slightly, eyes flickering open. You still here? Yeah, he whispered. Still here. You disobeyed my order, she said weakly. I disobeyed a lot of things, he replied. Good, she whispered, and passed out again. Outside, the machines were fried. Inside, the reactor was offline but stable. For now, the battle was over. But Rylan looked at the stars above the broken roof and knew this wasn't the end. This was only the first strike. The signal had gone too far, the secret too large, and the galaxy never forgets what it's afraid of. Valari had saved his life. Now he had to save hers. The sun finally rose, but it didn't bring warmth, just quiet light over broken steel, shattered walls, and a silent battlefield. Rylan stood on the rooftop, bruised and exhausted, watching the smoke drift into the pale sky. Below him, the compound was a wreck. The machines lay in heaps, burnt and cracked from the energy pulse. Their weapons were scattered across the dirt like bones from a forgotten war. But all that mattered was the room behind him. He turned and went inside, where Valari lay in the med bay chamber. Her body was a mess of synthetic tissue and burnt armor. Her systems had restarted only an hour ago. She was alive, but barely. Wires ran from the wall into her core implant. Every few minutes, her eyes blinked once, flickered, then rested again. Like a machine remembering how to be human, Rylan sat beside her, one hand gripping the glowing shard she gave him. He hadn't activated it yet. He couldn't, because if he did it meant giving up. Suddenly, her voice cracked through the silence. "I'm still ugly when I sleep," she whispered. Faintly, Rylan looked up, shocked, then laughed. "You're awake." "Barely," she whispered. "Did we win?" "For now," he said. "But more will come." Valari nodded slowly. "They always do." He took her hand. Surprisingly warm. "You saved me," he said. "Twice." She looked at him with tired but soft eyes. "No," she said. "You saved me." There was a silence between them, not empty, but full of things unspoken. Valari broke it first. "I wasn't built to survive this long," she said. "My core was supposed to burn out after mission completion. And your mission was to erase evidence, eliminate witnesses, and destroy the war signal. But you didn't do any of that." Raylan said quietly. "No," she replied, "because I met you. You gave me something my designers never considered. A reason to live past the mission." Rylan sat back, letting her words sink in. She wasn't a weapon anymore, not just a tool built for violence. "Not to him. I'm not special," he said. "You are," Valari said simply. "Because you treated me like a person, not a machine." They rested for a moment, no alarms. No enemies, just the slow beeping of recovery. Then Valari pushed herself up weakly. "There's something I want to do," she said. Rylan helped her stand. She limped to the main console, touched the screen, and typed in a long command. A file opened encrypted and glowing red. "This is the memory archive," she said. "The full truth about the precursor. War tech buried beneath this world. Coordinates, history, even who tried to erase it." She turned to Rylan. "You can upload it to Earth High Command. They'll know what to do." He looked at the screen, then at her. "What about you?" Valari smiled slightly. "I was made for one mission," she said. "But now I want a different one." Rylan raised a brow. "Like what?" She stepped closer, her voice softer than before. "To protect someone, not because I was ordered to, but because I want to." He didn't respond right away. Instead, he gently reached out and held her hand. "No more missions," he said. "No more war." She leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. And for the first time since she arrived, she allowed herself to breathe. Outside, the signal array pulsed quietly. A secure message was sent through deep space. Not a warning, not a threat, but the truth. And back inside, Rylan and Valari stood together, not soldier and weapon, not human and alien, but two souls who found each other in fire. Her mission wasn't what he expected, and neither was she.